Hello and welcome to episode 14 of the XboxEra podcast. As always, I am joined by Kaironaut and Shpeshal Ed. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
G'day.
Oh.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, and obviously to our audience out there, Happy New Year to you. What games did you bring the new year in with, guys? Anything exciting? Oh, Rocket League. I'm stunned.
Yeah.
Finally got my Rocket League t-shirt.
This month has been nothing but like weird releases. I mean, Pathologic 2 came out on Game Pass and I'm playing that because God knows I hate myself, so why not have a game that makes me feel that even more? And the 17th has Tokyo Mirage Sessions on Switch, which is the only game I've been holding out for from the Wii U.
The Wii U.
Okay.
Yeah.
God.
I'm pretty happy. Also, they fucking announced. So here's some unrelated Xbox news to start us off with. Nintendo had a Pokemon Direct the other day where they announced Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra as DLC for Sword and Shield with a $30 expansion pass, or is it $40? I can't remember if it's $30 or $40.
I think
Whatever.
It was 30. I think it was 30.
And apparently, each of those expansion packs has, I think, 200 new Pokédex entries each. So that leads me to believe that the yeah, and they sold a $60 fucking Pokemon game with 400 Pokemon, and then sold the rest back to everyone as DLC.
Yeah.
That is like prime fucking EA shit.
That's a bit
from Nintendo.
That is yeah, that sounds like a lot of money. I don't really care about Pokemon, so
it's funny too because like they started when people called them out for such a low Pokemon number for this generation's launch.
I did see all that. Yeah,
their excuse was that we can't do all the Pokemon now.
There's too many.
Too much, right? Only to realize through the people who data mine games before lunch and after lunch to find the list of all the Pokemon pretty much done at this point, and now they announce, oh hey, we're gonna release the rest of them as DLC, and you're gonna have to pay $30 for it. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit.
Thank God I don't care about collecting them all.
Thank God I don't either. But Jesus Christ, for the people that actually care about like extending the life of that game that far, fuck you, Game Freak. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fair, but it is what it is. Modern game development costs a lot. I saw in the new year feeling really fucking ill, which has been a bit of a rubbish start. Hence the kind of husky voice. But I did manage to finally get around to completing Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh, I'm still playing that too.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm
enjoying it.
I 100%ed the first game. I 100%ed the second game. And this one, and I've spoken about my feelings towards, here's 1,000 icons of stuff to do. And it got to the point where I was just like, and I dropped every side quest. I was just like, main story. All the way through. Like, didn't care about anything. And yeah. And it's over now, and I don't know. I don't think it was as good as the first two. Very pretty on the X.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
I'm still at that town where you start to get side quests. I'm still there trying to do everything in there.
I haven't even started the game, and I'm really not feeling like I really want to. So
I'm enjoying it.
Good.
Like, I'm not going to say I'm enjoying it as much as Rise. Like, Rise of the Tomb Raider was just unbelievable. Like, it was such a good game.
Yeah, it was.
For me, at least, it's like I'm bogged down with all the Game Pass releases that they announced this month.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a Game Pass release.
One of them, yeah, but there's also Witcher 3, GTA 5, Pathologic 2.
GTA 5 is pretty big.
Yeah, that was a pretty big surprise for a lot of people. That I never I willfully told myself I'm never buying GTA because it's a waste of my fucking money because I don't play it. I don't like it, But I downloaded it because my friends have it now, and I didn't have to pay for it. And we can just play heists whenever they want to. So that's nice. But I would never have bought it if it wasn't in Game Pass. Straight up.
Yeah, no way. No
Doesn't
chance.
make sense to me. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, did you guys encounter any New Year's resolutions? Have you taken any under your wing this year in an attempt?
Gaming resolutions? Or
Gaming,
just
personal, in general?
I'm back on a diet.
You don't need to be on a diet.
Yep. I haven't drank any Coke for like a week.
Wow, a week. Man,
hey, that's a long time for me, mate. That's a long time.
That's stellar progress.
Yep. I've banned sugar, so whilst not on a diet.
Bro, come back to me when you've like not drinking Coke for a month, and then I'll say, you know what, this man actually cares about sticking to his diet.
Hold on, I skipped Pepsi Max for a whole month back in the day, so I can do it. I have the discipline to do it.
Doesn't Pepsi Max have no sugar or caffeine in?
Yeah, but it's got that aspartame crap in it, which is probably worse than sugar. It's like poison, basically.
Yeah, because your body doesn't know how to process it.
Break it down. Yep. So, yeah, for anyone looking for a Coca-Cola replacement,
sponsored by...
country, try kombucha.
Kombucha.
Honestly, kombucha just tastes like ass to me, so...
It's not the best tasting stuff, I will say. I'm experimenting with many flavors to see if I can actually find one that I enjoy, but not having much luck at the moment.
Yeah. So if you remember, last time we did the podcast with Thomas Sala, who's he did I don't know if anyone saw, but he did a GIF of the Falconeer, some combat.
Looked cool,
and it went viral, and it looked badass. It looks really good.
Looks good.
That game is getting more and more attention, which is great to see. But if you remember, I got me and my wife, we both ended up with a Ring doorbell because my wife bought me what she wanted. So I actually gave that to my dad as a birthday present.
Yeah.
Rather than go through the returns process. And my wife got me this hilarious Master Chief mug for my coffee. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a lid, which I like. It's fine. It's actually really quite a small mug, so it's not my favourite. And I also got my Master Chief controller holder down there. So Christmas came through in the end, more or less. So I'm quite happy. Well, what to talk about this episode? So, Resetera, I believe the general manager, administrator, Cerium, has stepped down.
Yeah, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
And I think B-Dubs has come in, and if you are on Resetera, B-Dubs is the fellow that came up with the whole Thanos, posting this thread, and half of you will be snapped, and half of you will be, the survivors of the snap, and so on and so forth. And it was pretty entertaining.
Yep. That was a what, 24-hour ban, right?
No, it was a month, I think.
Something like that.
I think it was a long
month.
Yeah, it was a long time. It wasn't just 24 hours. It was a long. So it was quite risky for those that really loved being part of the community. They were gone for a while. I think it started a month before the general release of the film. So and then they were unbanned on the release day of the actual movie in Australia or whatever the case, wherever it came out first. But it was quite cool. Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it did come out here first, or New Zealand or something like
that. But while we're on the subject of Resetera, have you guys ventured into the next gen theory and discussion thread?
Speculation thread.
Do we call it speculation at this point?
About literal impossibilities.
Oh, it's HBM2, mate.
HBM2 and the PS5.
No, not just HBM2. Haven't you heard? It's not just HBM2 anymore. It's now dual GPU as well.
Oh, are they fucking kidding me?
Isn't this the power brick?
Hold on.
It's now dual GPU too.
Isn't this the same shit that Mr. X Media got fucking dunked on for in Resetera 20 in NeoGAF circa 2013 for saying there was a hidden dedicated GPU on the CPU on the APU die?
Secret source.
Fucking bullshit. Oh my fucking god. And now it's happening to PlayStation.
It just feels a little bit like a role reversal. Right? It feels like 2013 flipped around Right, but the difference being
Mark
that,
Cerny, the god, can't betray us now. Please don't betray us, Mark Cerny.
but
Yeah,
I think the
it's
difference being that
literally the reverse.
if it is a 9 teraflop or thereabouts PS5, that's a fucking great console for $400.
It is. I keep trying to tell them.
And if the situation was reversed and it was a 12 teraflop PS5 and a 9 teraflop Xbox, still a really great console.
This is the problem with that thread, right? So in that thread, it's all about, the narrative would be flipped if the power difference was different. It's like, you have to understand something. If power mattered all that much to like full-on dedicated Xbox fans, I don't know if they'd be with Xbox in the first place because they've just dealt with a 1.3 teraflop box for the last 6 years. Yeah. They were completely happy with having the weaker box all this generation. So I'm not
I don't know about
too
completely
sure if
happy.
It's having... it's not like
Crap
the One
gamer.
X... It's not like the One X doubled the sales of the Xbox install base, did it? So it's not like everyone went and upgraded, because at the time the One X came out, there was probably around 30 million Xbox Ones out there. They don't have 60 right now. So clearly they don't care that much about power. Even a 9 teraflop Series X is a real good box compared to a 1.3 base Xbox One.
Yeah.
Like, it's really not that bad.
I mean,
But
it's
yeah.
interesting. It's go on.
Speaking of like install numbers, how much do you think the Xbox is going to end this generation? I'm thinking 50 mil, but
Yeah, I think 50.
50 mil sounds like a good estimate. Like considering how long it's
50 quite a while back.
Yeah, I feel like with the consistency it's been reported to be selling at least. The sales have been tanking in recent months, but that's what happens at the last year of a generation. So
and straight after like the holiday sales.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't really get about the power discussion is obviously at this point we know that the rumours of Lockhart are back on the table, right? So it was off the table, then it was on the table, it was off the table. And they're pretty confident in saying that Lockhart's definitely going to be a thing. We just don't know if it's going to launch at launch. Is it going to be a year later as a kind of like here's a low budget version of the next gen Xbox? We just simply don't know until we know. And it's tantalizing really that within the next sort of 3 or 4 months we will know the majority of everything. And I certainly look forward to that point sort of arriving. But if it all works out as rumoured and we end up with a 4 teraflop 1080p box and a 12 teraflop future-proofed monster, does this, I don't see why so many jimmies are being rustled, right? It means the PS5 is sitting comfortably in the middle.
In the middle.
And the other thing that we should probably touch on is this whole bit of feedback around Matt Booty's interview with I think it was MCV, I can't remember which way round that acronym is.
MCV, I think.
That basically stated that at launch it's not going to be like a traditional launch where we'll have like 4 or 5 purely exclusive next generation Xbox games that come to Series X and they're not going to hit any other platform apart from PC, because they don't want to throw their existing customer base under the bus. And this literally comes as zero surprise. We already knew that Infinite was going to be a cross-gen. We've seen it successfully done with the Switch with Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Oh, look, I understand. I understand the angst. Don't get me wrong. I understand the angst. But my assumption is, again, it's an assumption, that Microsoft wouldn't be doing something like this if they didn't have a plan for, like, I guess, softening the blow, for want of a better phrase. PC development is a thing. All PC games come out and people with monster PCs run them. People with shitty PCs run them. They just run them at
lower settings,
varying levels.
Yeah.
It's, I feel like in 2020, that won't be the issue it was, say, last generation.
Yeah. I can see that.
Like, just the way games are being developed now, I don't see cross-gen being the headache it once was, where, Titanfall on 360 was by Bluepoint, on completely different hardware, on it's a very, very different scenario now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
And like the other side of that coin too is like, generally speaking, ports for like cross-gen titles have to take into account the lower spec system, because otherwise you can't really have things playing differently, But that isn't to say that a first party can't do that, because a third party has an obligation to make the experience somewhat consistent across platforms. There might be lower resolution on one side or the other, like half render frame rates at far distances, but it'll be the same level of AI, the same level of complexity otherwise, because they're obligated to make a product that is more or less the same across platforms. First parties don't have that restriction at all, because they're only developing for one machine at like minimum, right? So it makes me think that while a lot of games might be cross-gen, and it's certainly a possibility, and Matt Booty has already said, yeah, like everything we're gonna do is cross-gen for the first 2 years. Like, it's still a distinct possibility that maybe Microsoft might come out and say, hey, the Series X version of this game has increased AI density, has better like physics calculations, has more features enabled on the logic side of things than the lower power consoles do.
Yeah.
Especially in the case of single player games, where they don't have to have the restriction of, well, we have to make the experience equal because multiplayer needs to be the same across platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I'm then at that point, people are saying, oh, the 4 teraflop new Xbox is going to hold the generation back. And I'm like, well, not if, let's be honest, third parties are going to release on all platforms for at least a year. Microsoft are doing the same thing. And to be honest with you, and I said this the last podcast, I was like, what do we think Sony's actually going to come out with? Because we've already got The Last of Us 2 launching this year. We've got Ghost of Tsushima launching this year.
They'll both probably get PS5 versions.
But here's the question: are they actually going to? And I don't know, but are they actually going to re-release those games as new versions that you have to spend more money on? Which goes completely in the face of...
Or an update.
Yeah, or is it just going to be you plonk your disc in and you get that version? Because if it's the former, that feels really shitty.
That's assuming PlayStation 5 is going to copy the Xbox model of backwards compatibility. We just don't know yet.
Well, I think it will 100% be backwards compatibility with...
Because here's the thing. The Wii U and the Wii had very similar hardware in specification and in design. And it was very much a case of, well, we're just going to strap a bunch of Wii U's together, technically speaking, and make Wii's together and make the Wii U. You know what I mean? So, but the backwards compatibility on that was limited to things you could buy on the eShop, which Wii games did not come on the eShop until way later in the Wii U's life. Like, I don't think they ever released at launch or even in the first couple years.
You can pop your disc in, though, can't you?
You could pop your disc in, but it would take you to Wii mode.
Yeah, that's right. There's a dedicated. There's a little window.
If you wanted backwards compatibility with all your Wii, all the stuff you got on Wii, you had to go into the Wii mode, which meant you were locked out of any upgrades because it was emulating a lower clock CPU, a lower clock GPU. Even though it was the same, technically speaking, the same architecture as the Wii, but more powerful, you were still downclocked. You were still locked into the Wii spec. Is PS5 backwards compatibility with PS4 going to be the same? Where
that's what I'm worried about.
It's technically backwards compatibility, but you're not going to see upgrades. You're not going to see better frame rates, better resolutions. You're going to see the same game playing with your full compability. Don't get me wrong, full compatibility.
But it's not going to do the Xbox stuff where you get.
But you're stuck to the PS4. You're stuck to PS4 mode.
Yeah. Well,
and that would blow when you consider the fact that Microsoft will likely make it possible that every Xbox One game that is compatible with the Series X, which is looking like all of them, might have the potential of seeing better frame rates, better resolutions, more stable frame rates in general. Let's go back to the frame
rate. But wouldn't the PS5, wouldn't the backwards compatible PS4 games, through sheer, like the fact that they're going to be running on a console that's got an SSD or custom SSD or whatever it is, wouldn't they naturally get improved load times anyway?
Yeah.
Without a dedicated enhancement?
Sure. Like like you can look at emulators on PC today, like what's it? Dolphin, right? Dolphin emulates Wii and GameCube games with pin perfect precision to the point where you can even upgrade the games internally. For those who are unaware what Dolphin is. But like you lock it at like how it looked and how it played on the original systems, you're still going to get the benefit of load time, because load times is more dependent on the storage system than
that's right. Yeah,
the fundamental hardware.
Look, that's better than nothing. If I can get 100% PS4 backwards compatibility, and the only bonus is improved load times, I'll take it.
Yeah. Plenty of people will take that. That's not like, I'm not trying to paint PS4 mode as a bad thing and a bad avenue, because PS4 is still the last generation, the first generation 4K, so you're still going to be getting quality looking games in a PS4 mode, PS5, right? The only downside is locking those games out of potential upgrades down the line, potential updates.
Yeah,
you're stuck in that mode.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me, the way Microsoft's done it is obviously ideal, but not everyone's going to be able to do that.
Well, I think you saw, at least a certain point in the gen, a lot of third-party games and indeed Microsoft games use dynamic resolution scaling to great benefit. And as soon as the Series X came out, they immediately went, well, our upper limit is 1080p. We'll just hit that all of the time. You saw that with Halo 5. And I have to wonder. I think
that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Is they're obviously communicating without giving away too much info to their partners of like, design your games in this way. And, you have to wonder if there are games out there that are saying, here's a performance mode, but if the availability for power is there, you can run at 60 4K and all this sort of thing. We're seeing more and more games launch with that kind of stuff. And that, I like that avenue. I mean, I've got something crazy, like nearly 500 plus games, including everything from the OG Xbox to 360 to now. All sitting in a folder, and I like the idea that I can, at some point, whenever I feel like it, go back in time and go and play it, and it's not taken away from me, or I have to rebuy a special version of it or anything like that. I think that's pro-consumer. In a really good way, and I get it doesn't tick the boxes for console warriors out there. They want to have dedicated experiences, but at the same time, this is a business, and they need to make money in order to justify their existence. So it is what it is. But hey ho, never mind. Speaking of pro-consumer moves, there was a hilarious thread on Resetera the last couple of days, which was titled "Phil Spencer is our guy," and there was some absolutely brilliant takes in there. Some from perhaps more jaded fans, like don't love corporations and all this sort of thing, and some that were perhaps a little bit more reasonable. The only thing I can really say is, I've been lucky enough to meet Phil a couple of times, and he is a genuinely, seemingly nice fella. And that's pretty much all I have to say on it. And I continually hear, they need to earn my respect and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, if you haven't been paying attention for the last sort of 3 or 4 years, where he said, I'm going to fix A, B, and C. I'm going to fix my first party. I'm going to fix my development relationship with, Japan and etc. And I'm going to make sure that we fix our hardware. He's ticking every box, all right? So at this point, it's like, well, he said he's going to do stuff. The stuff he has said he's going to do, he has done. Let's see what the next generation brings. And that's pretty much my take on it.
Well, I am working on trying to get him both to actually post in the Discord and hopefully be on this podcast.
Yeah,
through a friend.
He'll come on. We know that Thomas Marler, bless him, he actually emailed Phil after his appearance on this podcast. It was like,
did he?
Yeah.
Did he email it?
He emailed Phil directly and was like, here's their email address. But, Phil's a busy guy. He can't drop everything and come and join us on this podcast, so that's understandable.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hopefully before the year is out or before the Series X releases, we'll have him on.
That's our New Year's resolution, folks. If you're watching before the end
try and get Phil on
of 2020, and ideally, really before the launch of the new Xbox console, we will get Phil Spencer to give up 2 or so hours of his life and come chat games with us.
Hopefully,
well, hopefully,
we'll see. Hopefully, it's a good resolution to have. If we fail, I don't know.
So be it.
So be it. We'll keep trying. Make it the New Year's resolution for 2021. We also threw out some conversations for the community to throw some questions at us, both in our Discord and on Twitter. So I've got a few that I sort of took note of. From Starlatine, is Xbox dead? There's a pretty short answer to this.
Same answer. Always.
Always
dead.
So, and it's the right kind of dead. Solidus Kraken. If the Series X and the Lockhart stuff is true, should I buy the Series X over Lockhart? Like,
didn't you say what reason would I have to buy a Series
Pretty much.
X?
Should I buy it or not? Should I buy Series X if both are released, or should I just stick to Lockhart?
I mean, it's an easy question to answer. Do you have a 4K TV, or like myself, are you still
rocking the
1080
plasma?
If you're planning on rocking a 1080 TV for next generation, then maybe just get Lockhart. But I'm finally moving over to 4K with an LG 48-inch OLED, so nice. I will be getting the Series X.
Was that the one that was revealed at CES this week?
CES. Yep. That TV. I don't know if any of you use that website. That is it. Artings, that TV rating website.
Yeah, they're quite good.
I imagine that LG will instantly rocket to the top of the list of best gaming TVs. It supports G-Sync, it supports FreeSync, fully firmware upgradable. They said that because, again, this is in the article I read, because of the size of the screen. So a 48-inch 4K, they said it gives the pixel density, which is the equivalent of a 96-inch 8K TV or something like that, which is just bonkers if it's true, because you imagine that native 4K games are going to look ridiculously crisp on that TV. It's going to be so good. Can't wait.
Yeah, you'll love the jump to 4K. Although I also imagine that the Series X will allow 1080p users to super sample natively.
Well, yeah.
So I guess again,
the One X already does that built in. So
exactly.
There's no reason the Series X won't do the same.
So I guess it really comes down to: do you see yourself upgrading to a new TV halfway through that generation of console? And if you do, you'll know that you can super sample for years 2 and 3 and 4, and then unsuper sample and just run it at native 4K when you get your new TV. But
really, we should wait and see what the prices are too.
Yep. I think that's.
We're all guesstimating, or we're all taking a crack at what we think the prices are going to be, but ultimately we don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe Phil's going to be a complete smartass and throw a curveball with the pricing and do
$5.99.
Yeah, some outlandish shit like $1.99 and $3.99, or who the hell knows? We've got to wait till we get some pricing first.
You could imagine the cheers, right? If they match the price for Series X versus PS5, if they match the price,
highly unlikely. But
the mic drop of an E3 mic drop, it's out at $3.99. But as always, Microsoft go first. Although that we are seeing rumors now that Sony. I don't think. Well, there's going to be the PS meeting for a start, and that'll be probably around Feb. Probably announced last day.
But they won't show. They won't announce the price there.
No.
I mean, I told everyone that they weren't going to have any PS5 shit at CES, and I was basically right, unless you count a logo that everyone already knew what it was going to look like.
I've seen some hilarious memes on that logo as well. It's like, like an art Photoshop guy at his laptop just presses delete, Fritz 5 and it's like grins at the camera. It's brilliant.
So I imagine they will not reveal the price at the PS meeting. That will probably wait for either E3 if they're going to be there. It's sounding like they're not going to be there, or whatever dedicated E3 show they have. That's probably where they'll have the price.
I like now that at E3 Microsoft does it all in their own theatre, because previous E3s we saw the crazy security leaks where the whole reveals would just be bullet pointed 2 hours before the conference. There you go, everyone. Surprise is ruined, which sucked. For people that enjoy the sort of surprise element of E3. So the idea that they have their own theatre and that's where they hold everything, and I think they host some other third parties in there. So it'd be interesting to see how it all plays out. But this year, this general, I mean, we all love a next gen launch. They're always exciting, but it feels like we finally got a Microsoft and Xbox team that are firing on all cylinders and actually really want to compete, and aren't being held back by the Windows division and being under their banner. And we finally have a PlayStation that absolutely knows what they're doing and knows what they want to do and achieve. It's just going to be a good time for games. And I love the fact that we're entering a gen now. And again, this is my personal belief, but not every one of my in real life friends can afford to drop 500 quid or 400 quid on a brand new console that can play exclusive games. So the idea that I can get my Halo Infinite on my PC and run it in 32:9 at 144 frames per second and play with my friend playing on an OG Xbox One, and there's no barrier for entry, and they can all just jump on, is great. Like, yes, more of that, please. So yeah, super pleased, and I'm looking forward to this year. I think it's going to be a good one. What was the other amusing thing I read on Resetera? I'm just trying to rattle my brain here. I think I saw that that we had some crazy HBM2 stuff still being bandied around that next gen thread. But I think
we were talking about that before.
So that's pretty much the state of the union of late. Next community questions. There's another one here from Suikerbrood, who's one of our XboxEra site team staff. Coincidentally, I was looking at the statistics of who posts the most on the XboxEra website, and he is kicking everybody's ass. He's in triple digits in terms of news items and articles and reviews posted, with over 150. So, massive shout out to Sukia for basically kicking butt and taking names. But he's written, do we think with the 10 or so months left until the kickoff of next gen that Microsoft can positively change the conversation on their brand? So they've been working on it for a number of years, but it still seems that more time and effort is needed to actually garner a positive mindset from the general public. What do we think?
No. They need the new consoles to come out.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
They need to leave the Xbox One behind, and we're going to be a couple of years away from that, as we understand.
If Microsoft was going to turn it around and they couldn't do that with everything they've done in the last 3 years, then it's not going to happen until after the new consoles come out. Yeah,
and I think as well that they need to have the games to actually do that conversation for them. They need to have, arguably, and this is again my personal opinion, Halo Infinite needs to be, no pressure 343, but it needs to be basically a jaw-dropping, mind-blowing single-player game with all of the longevity that comes from, continual updates, a killer multiplayer feature set, a killer new game mode that gets everybody talking, be it in the realm of like your Apex Legends or your Fortnites that people just want to play all the time. It needs to do all of those things. It needs to tick a crazy number of boxes, and I would not want to work for 343 under that pressure, to be honest with you.
I mean, to be fair, they have the resources available to them that they need. They've been given 5 years. They've been allowed to build a brand new engine, And one advantage they do have, we have no idea if they've taken advantage of this, but Halo 5's multiplayer was borderline perfect.
It was great. I still love it today.
As terrible as that campaign is, the multiplayer is, for me, the best in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So if we work under the assumption that 343 also believes that, then that's a pretty big advantage development-wise, because they don't have to spend a lot of resources with the multiplayer. Obviously, have it running in the new engine in terms of visuals, but how it feels, the modes, the general structure of everything, they can pretty much leave it as is. They don't really have to touch the multiplayer.
Yeah, and I've said this to some of my friends. I miss the days where you'd hit your guide button and you'd see your friends list and it'd just be Halo, 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 Halo. I miss those days, personally speaking. And I think Halo 5, when it launched, I thought it was really good. The core was good with multiplayer, but it was missing a lot of the modes that everyone kind of took for granted, and that was a shame. But ever since the sort of Forge updates and things, the amount of customs that you can play now with all the minigame settings and stuff is bonkers, and it explains why, even to this day, what we're talking 4 years later since its release, I can still find a game
almost 5 now.
Pretty quick. Yeah. And even now, like I'm very pleased to occasionally be asked to work quite closely with the 343 Sustain team. So this is the team of guys who try and support the matchmaking with new modes and maps made by the community. So they do a lot of testing and stuff, and they are constantly looking at what they can add to the not so much as updates now, but what content they can put in that will get people talking. Things like Castle Wars and other new modes like that, and mini games in their Action Sack playlists and stuff like that. And it's commendable that they're doing that. So massive props to those guys who sit there and sort through all of the community content, because there's a lot of it, both good and bad. And I'm certainly not saying mine's good, but I'm pleased that sometimes some of my stuff is picked up. I recently did in 2019. I'm still forging. I guess Halo 5 is probably my game of the generation next to Sea of Thieves, but I made a Sea of Thieves galleon in Forge for Halo 5 as a competitive level.
Pictures of that.
And
that pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an insane thing to try and pull off, because it's Forge. It's not a professional level design tool, really. I still love doing it. It's such a weird addiction. I find it's kind of a Minecraft for Halo nerds, I guess.
Well, I mean, professional level design tool is relative. I mean, it's about as good as it's not as good as something like the creation engine for Bethesda's games, but no. I mean, for a map editor for a first-person shooter, I don't really think you can get much better.
Yeah, it was fun to build, but we'll see. But yeah, so there you go, Sukia. No, they probably won't be able to turn that around anytime soon, but they'll just have to keep sticking to their messaging and carrying on doing what they're doing. Soulblazers has written, would we like to see some focus on custom mods for the next-gen consoles, specifically around RPG studios like in Exile, Obsidian, kind of like your Skyrim stuff where you have mods on consoles for the first time? Would we expect to see, or would we like to see those developers allowing the community to make their own kind of bits and pieces and their own adventures within new games on Xbox consoles? Yeah,
I mean, for those that care enough, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm always down for it. I don't know whether they will, unless they hit to a level of something like a Skyrim from perhaps Obsidian or someone like that, because one thing that's always stuck out to me in some of the interviews that I've read over the last year or so was there's a phrase that's been repeated, and it's one I wholeheartedly agree with as someone who has limited time to game as much as he would like, and that is the return of games that have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Games that aren't 80 hours of grind, that are 15 to 20 hours of great game, but then it's a one and done. And I like that.
I'd be happy if we went 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, same.
Hold
my hand.
I don't see why is everyone so allergic to sub 10-hour games. Like, if you can make that 10-hour game one hell of a ride, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, even if it's super high production value, you know, I don't know. I don't see an issue with it.
No, I don't.
I think we need to get over it.
But yeah. So, and the last question I have from Don Kibasa. Are SSDs magic, and is the Xbox One SX and the majority of PCs holding back my gorgeous, sweet NVMe SSD powered games? Question mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, question
I think
mark,
that might be a semi-troll question.
It is. No, they will not. Yeah, so there you go. Always interesting. And I think it's time now, and we still need a jingle for this. So if you're listening,
actually, one thing I did want to, I guess it kind of links in. I don't know if anyone saw, there was some Twitter account which I didn't look into the Twitter account, but it spread pretty quick because I follow a Powerstone Twitter account. It's not an official one, but it's like, I don't know, the known one, and some other random unknown account said that Powerstone HD is going to be announced for the Nintendo Switch at the next Direct. So, yeah, a lot of us that are Powerstone fans obviously got a bit excited. It's probably bullshit. I ran it past my guy who laughed.
Oh.
So, yeah, that broke my heart a little bit because I'd love for Powerstone to come back.
Burst that bubble.
I've got it on Dreamcast. I've got it on PSP.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Mate.
it'd be great to have. I mean, look, I don't know if we'll ever get a Powerstone 3. It'd be cool if we did. But even just the first two remade, like Capcom now has that incredible engine. How about we start bringing stuff back? Like, how nice would a Dead Rising game in that new engine be now? That would be
It's an
really
incredible
interesting.
engine. I wish I could play horror games without being a terrified little bitch. But that's what I am.
I need to go back to Resident Evil 7.
Hey. Swearing. You know.
Well, hey, considering Mr. Pottymouth over there has sworn more than the word bitch in the first 10 minutes of this podcast.
You clearly missed all the swearing you did in the first 2 minutes of this podcast.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't count if I do it, okay?
Wait, we need to add that
Different,
to our
huh?
New Year's resolution list, is tone the language down,
Stop
boys and
swearing.
girls. We need to stop having to mark this podcast as explicit. But no, I'm right, I see these visuals of these horror games, and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. I'm just a little wuss. I can't do it.
Look,
I got scared playing King
Resident
Kong,
Evil 7,
the game.
Resident Evil 7 is a legitimately great game. I'm not very far into it because it keeps stressing me out all the time.
I can't do it. I can't do it. King Kong, the movie. Do you remember that? Do you remember
The
King
original
Kong, the movie?
or
the game?
2005?
Yeah, like the launch title.
The game.
Yeah,
Okay.
couldn't play that because being chased by dinosaurs when you can hear their feet but you can't see them terrifies the bejesus out of me. All right,
Okay,
I don't
that's a
know
step
why.
too far, but...
Don't judge me. Well, I made my girlfriend at the time complete the game for me.
So then you didn't play Alien Isolation then?
So on Alien Isolation, I love the Alien movies. I bought the game on sale.
The game is
admittedly.
amazing.
I was like, wow, the art direction, wow, this is cool. Played through. Saw the guy get stabbed. I was like, oh, that's scary. Went into the room, and then the alien dropped in, and I just leaned across, turned my console off, and never loaded it again.
Nope.
All right?
Yeah.
I can't do it.
It is. It's scary as. I mean, it's funny. Like, I was a bit disappointed when I read there was some Twitter account that some developer started a thread. This was years ago, saying, post about secrets about games you've worked on that no one knows about. And someone who was on that creative assembly team or used to be posted that, the alien, it was really hard to have the alien have actual proper AI that could try and hunt you down. So the alien just always knew where you were at all times, which just, it disappointed me a little bit. I still love the game. The game is so damn good.
So the alien knew where you were at all times. It just chose not to find you.
That's right. Yeah, basically. So that's why, because I always used to wonder, because again, I get pretty scared too, John, but I remember playing Alien Isolation and I was in this awesome hiding spot and I'm just like, what if I just sit here? It's never going to find me in here. Surely I can just wait for it to piss off and then I can just sneak out and keep going. And I reckon I sat in this little vent for like probably 5 minutes. I just sat. And eventually that alien just came in and grabbed me and tore me out. And I'm like, God damn it.
No.
There was
I just can't.
There's
can't
nowhere
do
for me to
horrors.
hide.
Can't do them. I'm just a terrified little wuss. So all you horror fans out there, I'm just madly jealous of your bravery more than anything else in this world. But yes, if there are any budding musicians listening, we would really love a Rumourmill jingle for the Rumourmill, because we thought about using a song. I think you had a song, Ed, didn't you? Of some description.
Bananarama.
But we don't want to be hit with any copyright strikes. So if someone wants to write us a hilariously cheesy Rumourmill jingle that I can play, that would be great.
I think we have someone in the Discord, PSW60, who had done a jingle for this podcast early days.
Maybe I'll pester him.
Maybe we'll tap him.
But I'm thinking it needs some cheese, like some Richard Cheese. If you've never listened to Richard Cheese on Spotify, you probably should.
Okay.
But yes, so Nick, over to you for the Rumourmill.
Okay, so one that I've been holding on to for a while, because we don't have an unlimited number of rumours, and it's nice to spread them out. But the problem is, in my waiting, some steam has been taken away. So first, Suikerbrood started a thread on Reset asking what we think Everwild should be and what it could be. And I had to read through that thread, and if you sort of piece together a lot of people's posts, there's a rough idea of probably what Everwild's going to be. Then Matt Booty came out with that interview talking about cross-gen games, which took a little bit more steam. But so Everwild, I had been given some info about Everwild quite a while back, prior to XO19 actually. So that's how long I've been holding on to this for. Because of course we're all still wondering what Everwild's going to be like, what it's going to be about. And what I've been told, for starters, since we're talking about the Matt Booty thing, Everwild's going to be cross-gen, which also means it's probably coming out sooner than we all think. I believe there's even a chance it might make launch. There's a chance. I'm not saying it will, but there is a very real chance it might sneak into launch. Now, in terms of the type of game it is, I think at the start we all thought maybe like a Monster Hunter type of game, but it's actually, I believe, more of like a God game. Not black and white God game, but on a smaller scale. So there'll be like, you sort of have tribes and villages and stuff like that. There's a little bit of Sea of Thieves about it, but it's co-op focused. It's not shared world, it's co-op. Okay. That's the big difference. So I guess maybe, I don't know, would you say, is that more like Minecraft, I guess?
Well, I think it's rumoured to have some form of building in it, isn't it?
Yeah, because with Minecraft, you have your own server that you have people jump into, yeah? Because again, I don't play Minecraft, so you'll have to correct me there if I'm wrong. But
no, I think you're right on that front.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is like this full-blown shared world that everyone jumps into. Where Minecraft, you have your own world that you've made, and you can have friends jump in. So I believe that Everwild is more like that.
Interesting.
So
I think that's definitely been given more weight because of Booty's recent comments of, we're not going to leave people behind straight away.
Everything's going to be cross-gen.
So. I mean, I have to admit, when that trailer dropped at XO19, I was actually standing with Mike Chapman and the community guy, I'm trying to remember, I think it's John McFarlane, I can't remember his name, from Rare, and they were clapping and hollering, obviously, because it was a big deal to see their team's new game being shown off. But one thing that stuck me was the art style, whilst not the same as Sea of Thieves, is obviously stylized, and isn't trying to break the bank on realism, but instead is vibrant and colourful.
Here's the thing,
wouldn't surprise
because
me.
it all starts to piece together when you look at it all. So we had Thomas on the last episode, and he was telling us how, because Falconeer has no textures, it scales up super well, which would also assume it scales down pretty well. And part of that is the fact that it has no textures. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, what is that game by Capcom? I can't believe... Okami. So
one?
remember
Okami. Yeah.
on PS3 actually could run, I believe, at like 4K or some ridiculous resolution.
Wow.
It was running at an internal resolution of like extreme,
of like 4K or 8K or something.
It was being
insane.
downscaled, but it was being
it was
downscaled to
something crazy.
1080p. Yeah.
And again, that's another one of those cel-shaded sort of stylized games with no textures. And if you see the Everwild trailer, it looks like they're going with something very, very similar. So it all kind of falls into place. So Matt Booty's, like, we're talking about cross-gen games and not, ditching the Xbox One. If a game is being built in that way, then you have to assume that they're building it that way so that the Xbox One version, or when the game runs on Xbox One, it doesn't run like complete garbage and still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then will still scale up magnificently on One X, Series X, Lockhart, whatever the case.
That assumes a level of foresight that not many developers have the time, patience, or money to actually do.
Except a first-party developer.
Yeah, first-party
developers, sure.
Yeah.
But that's about the only extent I'd see of it for the most part. Like there'll be the exceptions in third party, like the Falconeer, I assume. But I don't see that being the trend for every third party game.
No.
Oh, no.
I don't think
But it'll probably be for some of the first party. Like, I'm just, it made me think about what Thomas said. It made me think about what Matt said. And it looks like with Everwild, if we're just talking about Everwild for now, it looks like they were very intentional design decisions. So that the game could be cross-gen, but still not, like, the game's not being sacrificed by being held back by the Xbox One, just purely based on how it's being built.
And those colours and that, but seeing that kind of world, like, one thing that is really jarring is when you play Sea of Thieves, it's a gorgeous game, we all know that, but playing it at 30 FPS is frankly horrific, and that's why I play on PC with a pad. But the idea of when that next gen console launches, when Series X comes out, to play those games in full fat 4K but at 60 FPS or even higher because the bandwidth is available there for developers to just go, off you go. And again, this ties back into that that messaging that's already started to come out, not so much on the bells and whistles, but how games feel to play. Because, and I don't care what any 30 FPS diehards out there think, any game at 60 FPS feels better than a game at 30 all of the time.
They look better. There's something about the 60. They just look smooth. Man, those Tomb Raider games, when you run those Tomb Raider games in performance mode, goddamn, they look good.
Yeah, the difference is staggering. So,
how many years ago did Frank O'Connor? Because I remember I did not believe him at the time. But how many years ago did he say that Slip Space engine is being built for Xbox One? It's one of those things that, again, like, clearly Microsoft has had their eye on this strategy for many, many years, because Frank said it quite a while back.
Yeah, he's underlined several times that, I think, and I'm paraphrasing here, so Frank, if you're listening, I apologise for perhaps misrepresenting you, but I think the gist of what he said was it will take full advantage of the Series X, but the engine will also take advantage of yet untapped capability of the original Xbox One. So they've obviously specifically designed it to take advantage of all of their hardware,
so that it can run well on base Xbox One.
But
that's
saying
the idea.
That, I still wouldn't be surprised to see, because I know they've said 60 FPS is king for Halo now, and I love that they made that switch and that change, because Halo feels better because of it. It's no longer like walking through mud. Seriously, go back and play Halo 3 on the 360. Like, not the MCC version, that the original 30 FPS version.
The backwards compatible version.
It's not fun. But I wouldn't be surprised from a campaign perspective if they did something very similar to what Gears did, which is to have the campaign render on the OG Xbox One at 30, Xbox One X at 60, and then obviously, and I'm putting my own personal thought out here, I wouldn't be surprised to see Infinite rocking 120 FPS for Halo.
For multiplayer.
On the Series X.
Yeah, not for single, but for multi.
But yeah, I will fully bet on that.
Yeah, I could see it for multi for sure. So I don't know, when you just put all those pieces together, it kind of paints a picture that they haven't really been hiding from. We just haven't seen it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so that's Everwild. So if it can sneak into launch, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
To have the new IP in Everwild, Forza 8, Halo Infinite. That's not a bad launch lineup.
Yeah, because he's. I think Matt Booty was also quoted as saying we're focusing on a couple of titles, but then he only referenced Infinite because that's the only one that's obviously been announced as launching with the console.
Yeah,
so
right.
fully expect there to be a couple more.
Yeah.
Do we think that obviously then Forza is going to be
for sure? There'll be a Forza game. There has to be. There always is. And how long has it been since 7? 2 years?
It's
3
been
years?
2 years. Years.
Okay,
No, wait.
No,
No.
nearly 4 years, I think.
No, since 7. But when
The last
Series X
Forza
launches-
game, the last Forza Horizon game was in 2018. The year before that was Forza Motorsport 7.
So it'll
So
be
it's
3
been about
years
3
come this
years.
year. It'll be 3 years
In
come
3
Series
years,
X
yeah.
launch. So Forza Motorsport 8 has to be there. Surely.
Yeah, it released
Like,
3rd of October 2017, Forza 7.
That's right. So it'll be 3 years. And remember, with Forza Motorsport, it's always been announced at the year it comes out a few months later. That's how it's always been. So my assumption is that come June, it'll get announced, launch title, cross-gen, the whole lot. Obviously, what we don't know, that we have to wonder is, will it be? I assume no, but let's hypothesize anyway, speculate, whatever. Will it be a Forza Horizon 2 situation where there was a separate version made, or will it be the one scalable version? I assume it's the latter rather than the former, but
I think so.
you never know.
Because at this point, it's just lower res textures. It'll be no ray tracing. It'll be, locked to 1080p 60.
Everything turned off. Everything turned off.
But the Series X version will have all of the crazy textures and
I imagine
bells
that
and
will
whistles.
look ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine
racing
that's
games
just
always
gonna look
do.
ridiculous.
And the great thing is, aside from the Horizon series, which was the only game series to ever make me want to play racing games, I don't have to worry about at least being able to show it off on the TV, because it's Game Pass. Game
right.
Pass. Yep.
It's just there.
It's just there. Don't have to worry.
Now, before I jump into the next rumour, something I want to clarify, because I had quite a few people in Discord giving me shit.
Yeah.
Because Zooge and Sony put out tweets saying that Elden Ring is going to be shown at the Taipei Game Show. No, it isn't. It's going to be a trailer. Although Zooge, I believe, did say that. He said it'll be in video form. It'll most likely be the E3 trailer. When I talked about Elden Ring showing up at the Series X show, that was gameplay.
Yeah.
So
A
that's
reveal,
my bad.
folks.
I worked under the assumption that people assumed I was referring to gameplay. It's gameplay we're going to see in April or May for Elden Ring, not just some random trailer.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clear that up.
That's good.
So the next rumor, again, little bit of thunder spoiled. Platinum and Wonderful 101. So I had been told that Platinum were looking for funding because they want to take Wonderful 101 to other platforms.
This was originally a Nintendo. Was it a Wii U
The
exclusive?
Wii U game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wii U exclusive.
Nintendo published it. But Nintendo were happy for Platinum to put it on other platforms, I believe. But they basically said, we ain't paying for it though. You guys have to self-fund it if you want to put it elsewhere. We're not paying for anything. So up until Tencent gave them that loan, which is all it is, by the way, for people thinking that Tencent have a stake in Platinum, they don't. It was effectively a loan. They just gave them funding. They were, I believe, going to go to Kickstarter for the Wonderful 101 other console ports. So we assume that there's obviously going to be a Switch port, but I think we may get Wonderful 101 ports for PS4 and Xbox One as well. Now that they have that Tencent money. Which, for those of you who care about Wonderful 101, I guess that's pretty cool. I played it on the Wii U, and I was not a fan myself.
So if you care about it, effectively the message is buy it and support your developer that you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've got. I mean, it's good that they didn't have to go to Kickstarter. I mean, 10-cent money is a lot of money. So my assumption is that they'll have all the money they need to port it to whatever consoles they want to port it to. So for those excited, that's cool.
Cool.
That's all I got for this time.
That's the end of the Rumourmill, and that's where we would obviously play the jingle again. But yeah, definitely want that jingle at some point. So I think next up is you've done a top 5 this week, Ed.
Yep.
And it's a
one that I wanted to
one.
do earlier. Yeah, I did want to do it earlier back when Master Chief Collection came out, but I think that was the week that we skipped because of,
we had time. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
the top 5 for this week was top 5 Halo campaigns.
Interesting.
I'm aware of the fact that there's only 6 mainline Halo games, if you include Reach.
I think you can include Halo Wars as well in all of those because some of them have good stories.
I didn't. It was more about the FPSs.
Yeah, that's fair.
I did troll a little bit. Like usually my feature image on the website gives a clue as to what's in the top 5. So the feature image is one of the Halo 5 key arts, but Halo 5 was never going to be in that top 5
from a campaign perspective.
Yeah, that was never going to be there. It's a terrible campaign. But I mean, look, I assume you guys have read. I don't know if you guys have read the top 5. I know that John's going to have thoughts on a game that's missing. But
so is this going to be only mainline Halos or?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, because ODST is not a mainline Halo.
No, all the FPSs. It's the FPSs.
Okay, so then that's 7 games.
Is it? Is it
Halo
CE? Reach 1, 2, 3, ODST 4, 5.
Well, I considered Reach a mainline game, but ODST as an expand-alone. I consider ODST an expand-alone. But yeah, either way, it's 7 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So number 5 for me was Halo 4. Just snuck in through sheer virtue of there not being many Halo games. Don't get me wrong, I don't love Halo 4's campaign. It's just okay. As I said in the article, it's serviceable. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's
mechanically, story, level design. What is it about it that you dislike?
Oh, again, I didn't dislike it. Like I like that.
Okay. Let me rephrase that.
I like that.
What about those 3? Which of those 3 things did you find the most mediocre?
For me, it was the levels themselves.
Okay.
Like there was nothing overly memorable about Halo 4's campaign, at least for me. I like that they tried to explore the relationship between Cortana and Chief. That was cool. Visually, it was incredible. Like the 360 should not have been able to pull that off. It felt great to play.
It felt like a next-gen title, even on 360.
Yeah, it did. It was, and like if you play it in the Master Chief Collection, it looks really, really good at 1080-60. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
That game had no right looking that good on that hardware. But again, there's nothing super, like there's not too many things I could remember from that campaign to tell you about, do you remember this part? Do you remember this part? Do you remember this part? The one thing that does stand out for me in Halo 4 is those goddamn Prometheans. That's where they introduced the worst enemy in the Halo franchise.
I still don't get the complaints about how they're the worst enemy in Halo.
Oh, come on. They're just...
Oh, God. Okay. Deep breaths.
Just horrible to fight.
The Flood is worse.
No, right. So let me break this down, right? And I'm representing Halo Era here in my official capacity as a Halo nerd. So Halo 4, I actually liked the story of Halo 4, and I think that they achieved a better storytelling capacity than Bungie ever did with their cutscenes, their acting, the whole premise of Cortana going rampant, spoiler alert, and Chief effectively losing the one person he sort of had by his side the entire time. Where I personally feel it was less than stellar is particularly around level design, because they pushed the engine so hard. Effectively, the levels became
very small
corridors. And a series of go here, push button, and it's repeated ad nauseum throughout the campaign, and it really takes the shine off what otherwise, considering that team was brand new, was a very competent game.
Yeah.
The multiplayer as
Very
well,
polished.
and I know we're not talking about multiplayer here, but if you actually go back into Halo 4 in the MCC and play the updated where they took out all the silly Call of Duty perk nonsense, the core game actually feels really good to play, but the levels were a bit meh. They were all based around these abilities and loadouts and things, and it was just a bad call on that front. But I still think from a story-driven perspective, Halo 4 did some really, really cool things that I don't think Halo 5 even attempted to emulate in such a way. But yeah, I don't disagree with it being on the list. I just, I guess it became really, really one note, that campaign for me, and the only real moments I can remember is the standoff.
I'm not saying I loved it. It's just it just scrapes in there by sheer virtue of two campaigns in particular that I hate.
Okay.
But I mean, while we were talking about the multiplayer, Halo 4 SWAT is awesome.
Well,
and
Halo
there's
4
a couple of maps
feels
in there
good
that
to
were
play.
really good.
Yeah, it feels good to play just once you take out all the trend chasing nonsense.
Well, I've only ever played SWAT. Ever since Halo Reach, I've only ever played SWAT, and SWAT was great in Halo 4. And I know Frank's on my side with that one, because he prefers SWAT too. So number 4. Speaking of SWAT and where SWAT started, Halo Reach. Now, when Halo Reach first came out, I was like, it was instantly my least favourite Halo game. But I reckon time has been kinder to Reach than I would have expected. Like, playing it again in the Master Chief Collection, it's not quite as bad as I remember it. Like, it's not bad. It's not great. Again, it's not amazing or anything, but it's not as bad as I remember. Like, time has been far kinder to it than one certain other Halo game.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to love that final stanza where Noble 6 just has to last as long as he possibly can. That's so cool. Like, that is legitimately cool.
Yeah, great ending.
Yeah, it is. Probably, arguably the best ending in any Halo game.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, like, for the sheer fact that it leads into CE, and the fact that no matter how good you are at that game, no matter how hard you fight, you're going down at some point. Like, it's... Yeah. I reckon that's awesome. That's really, really good.
Yeah. The thing that really bugs me about Reach, and again, from an extended lore perspective, is that... and I'm not sure if either of you have ever read the Fall of Reach, the Eric Nyland
didn't
book.
it ignore a lot of the things that happened?
Right, so 100%
yes.
You should read the book if you haven't, but it literally threw that entire fundamentally very interesting narrative out the window. So when I heard that they announced the title and it was called Reach, I was like, okay, I'm in, because the book has these amazing moments that I'm picturing immediately at launch back in 2009 in my head, like, oh, we're going to have the mission where he has to go 0G onto the station to prevent the Covenant from finding out where Earth is, and then you have the other perspective where the other team literally is trying to fly down and they have to jump out of a Pelican from high atmosphere and just hard lock their suits so they don't all die, and then half of them do die anyway, so you're seeing Spartans being, and it had this kind of underlying narrative, it had Halsey in it and all this sort of stuff, and then they effectively threw it all out the window and had you effectively, why wasn't Chief awake? Like, that side of things bugged me, but I do agree that from a campaign, if I ignore all of that, and I played through it as well on launch on PC, which was great. It's time has been kind to it. I think it's literally like a best of hits of missions from a Halo perspective. Yeah. Although I don't think the highs of Halo 3 have ever been reached by Reach.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because number 3 on my list is Halo 3, and for the reason you just said, like, Halo 3 is probably the only Halo game where they nailed that epic feeling of everything. Like, just everything felt like it mattered, like it was a big deal in the Halo universe.
Yep.
The Scarab battles, and the Savo Highway, the way they had those little skirmishes and mini battles the whole way along the Savo Highway, and like, it was Halo 3 was really good at making everything feel grand, or grander than it may have been.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Halo 3
again,
was an event, you know.
Yeah, that's
back
right.
Then. It was a
and
big
time has been okay to Halo 3. I played through it in the Master Chief Collection a few years back, and it was still pretty enjoyable.
Yeah.
I
do think that the walking around in Halo 3 does feel like you're wading through treacle, even at 60 FPS. Like, you are slow.
That's the issue. I love sprint. I know true Halo fans hate sprint, but man, you need it. You need it.
Yeah, well, you know, on sprint, sprint's just here to stay now, right? So just suck it up and deal with it.
Good.
It is what it is.
So it should be.
I do think, though, and I do agree with Halo fans' perspective, and I would be stunned if sprint isn't in Halo Infinite. All right? I would be genuinely stunned. I do agree, though, from a level design perspective, particularly around multiplayer, sprint fundamentally breaks maps. And the reason I say that is
it would break existing maps.
But okay, so let me put it in a different context.
So if you design the maps around sprint,
of course, but then
it's not a problem.
What that means is, like, the whole premise of Halo, and right back when it first came out, is the premise of run and gun, not run or gun. Right, and that is the one thing that I dislike about sprint. Is the way I play Halo. I'm a bumper jumper diehard. My thumb is never off that right stick, so I can be walking backwards, forwards, left or right, and I can constantly be shooting and aiming. And by having sprint in there, you lower your gun, and then you have to react, and it doesn't always feel. I don't feel like you got those. When I used to play as a kid, Halo 3 in particular, as a kid, I don't know, I was 20. I feel it feels like a long time ago, but we used to have these things called hero moments, right? And it's just what me and my pals used to call it, where you just have these moments where you'd sit on the radar and you'd feel the shots hitting you in the back, right? You'd have no abilities like thrust or sprint to get out of there, so you'd have these. You've only got the limited tool set that you have, so you'd have that moment where you see the wall in front of you, you can judge the distance by the radar dot, you throw the grenade straight at the wall in front of you and bounce back as it's flying backwards, and as it explodes you land that headshot and do that complete role reversal. And the more that the Halo games progressed, Halo 4 and Halo 5 particularly, you lose those hero moments. 9 times out of 10... You know, aside from thrust in Halo 5, which lets you evade a little bit, I feel like you kind of lost that opportunity to kind of be that kind of tank. But I also get, from a design perspective, modern games, you feel like you should be able to run, right? I get it. So I've made my peace with it, but
the thing is like how fast you want Halo to be, right? Because a lot of people when they mock sprint for existing in a Halo game and saying, oh, it just ruins how Halo maps are supposed to be designed. Like, for starters, they point to Doom, right? As like, well, if can succeed without sprint, why can't Halo? And it honestly sometimes reads to me like they want the Halo to play as fast as Doom. And Doom, I can't play because it's too fucking fast.
Have you ever played any of the MLG settings?
No one plays Doom multiplayer.
I've played the MLG settings on Halo 3, and like
So that's fast enough, and that's 110% of movement speed, if memory serves. It's just this little bit more, just a little bit. But, you know, like, this is a conversation that's been had ad nauseum. You know, it's Halo Era effectively just revolves around this, and whether the BR or the pistol is the appropriate starting weapon.
I honestly think the introduction of BR ruined how the meta felt in Halo that was established in CE.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I
ruined it. A broken piece of shit in 2 and 3.
I still feel
and it's
nauseated
still a broken piece of shit
when you load into.
It's not as bad as it was.
And you
it's
have
not
SMG
as bad as
starts in Halo 2. It makes me sick, physically sick.
Okay,
AR pistol starts in Halo 1 where
it's too late. The genie is out.
Let's rein it back to these campaigns.
Okay.
Because otherwise, we're going to end up with another 3-hour podcast. Okay.
Dear.
All right, number 2. Now, honestly, like, number 1 and number 2 were very, very close. Like, either game could have gone either way. Like, my number 2 Halo campaign is ODST, but I'll tell you now, ODST could have very easily been number 1. Like, I'll say straight up, anyone who hasn't played ODST, hurry up and go and do it. Like, it is an unbelievable Halo campaign. And it's so good because of how different it is to every other Halo campaign. It's intimate. There's nothing grand about it. It's dark, super dark. It's very isolating. It makes you feel, well, you are vulnerable because you're an ODST. You're not a Spartan. So it's almost refreshing to feel like you're not this unstoppable force that can wipe out armies single-handedly. You have to think every encounter through. I love the way the campaign is structured, where it's technically open world, like it's an open hub world of New Mombasa, but you're piecing together what happened to the other ODSTs via memories. So for those that don't know, there's like armor, I guess, and stuff strewn all over this world, and you'll find, say, a helmet, an ODST helmet, or you'll find some other piece of armor. And then when you find that armor, you then relive the memory of how it got there. It's actually, the way they did it was brilliant. It was so, and I know I say this in the article, Gears Judgment kind of tried to do the same thing and did not succeed. But yeah, ODST, the music, again, so unbelievably different. Like, it's this really smooth jazz sort of soundtrack to it. It blends so perfectly with the whole mood of the game. It is like, I don't know, I can't speak highly enough of ODST. Like, I find it funny that Bungie's two best Halo campaigns were the two that they rushed out the door. As soon as you give Bungie time and money, they get carried away and they screw things up. Put a leash on them and they work magic.
Yeah.
I find it funny that they're like that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think ODST, in particular for me, the biggest thing that makes it stand out amongst all of the Halo campaigns is the tone. Halo has an element of cheese to it. Halo 1 was all about the mystery. You didn't know what the hell was going on. And I think the latter Halos, particularly 4 and 5, ruins that mystery by answering too many questions. And that's again why the hope is high for Infinite, because they're going back to
it looks like they're going back.
Regardless of your thoughts on Halo 5's campaign, the end result was a reset. All right. Instead of humanity, war's over, we're kicking ass, we're the top, we've got the big ships, we're the best. No. Now we're on the run again. A number of years is going to have passed between Halo 5 and Infinite, and we're going to be back to, we don't know where our place is now.
We found a Halo ring.
We're hurt.
We found another
right?
one.
And I like that. But the one thing that always stuck out to me, and again, I always pictured it was almost movie level intro, and it's the beginning of the game. The whole ODST drop pod sequence is fantastically done with the music and everything,
so
right? But there's the line, it starts off in the cloudy storms, and it says something like, the year is da-da-da-da-da, blah, 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 and then it just has this wonderful little musical memento, and it just fades onto the screen, we are losing. And I loved that, and I wish that the future Halo games just had that tone. Yes, it's silly sci-fi nonsense, really, at the heart of it, and the grunts kind of speak English, but no one else does. But just hearing that, and that with that music, it forever cemented itself as one of those moments where I was just like, this is cool. And when I think about what the TV series is going to be like, because we've got to remember the TV series is coming in 2020 with Showtime, is I hope that they lean more towards a gritty take on Halo. We are losing, and we're really in trouble, as opposed to the glocky, more sci-fi opera. I kind of, But yes, ODST is an absolutely fantastic campaign.
It's funny, ODST, like CE, was one of those Halo games where they delivered the story more in-game, other than relying on cutscenes. Like, everyone, even though, full disclosure, I've never heard, what were those podcasts for Halo 5?
Hunt the Truth.
Hunt the Truth. Never listened to a single one of them.
Really good.
But everyone loves Hunt the Truth. As far as I'm aware, that started in ODST. So didn't they deliver those No.
No.
Those audio recordings.
So
in ODST?
ODST had Sadie's story, which was
Yes, that's right.
The story of I think and I have no idea if I'm right here. I think it was a story about a girl that was abandoned in New Mombasa and was being helped by, I think, the engineer. I can't remember now. It's been so long.
During the attack, it was all taking place during the attack. But
But
you were discovering this as you went through the hub.
But it wasn't. I don't think it was linked to Hunt the Truth.
No, it wasn't linked to it. I'm talking about that style of.
Oh yeah, the podcasty
story
audio
delivery.
recording. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about that style was done in ODST, and I think that's where they got a lot of their inspiration from for Hunt the Truth.
Hunt the Truth was brilliant, and the whole false marketing and false advertising. There's nonsense. It was a dramatization designed to hype up the game. Yes, it had no real impact on the actual story, and unfortunately for Halo 5, the story was pants. What I would say is, and I think, Nick, you've said this before, is that 343 have always got at least one thing right with a Halo game that they've released. So with Halo 4, the engine, the graphical fidelity,
how it feels
and how it felt was correct, but the multiplayer, but the story was good in Halo 4. It's just it was constrained a little bit by the end of the gen, and the hardware couldn't really tackle better level design. Halo 5, I feel, is the opposite. They nailed the multiplayer, as I think you agree with.
Multiplayer amazing.
But the story was rubbish. But if you actually take the story away and look at the level design, there is some absolutely standout level designs.
St. Helios is obviously the standout.
Yeah,
that's a good
St. Helios, Battle of Sinon, I think, is another really great moment. That really play into, here's the level abilities, the Spartan abilities that you have. They design the levels to take advantage of those, and I think in a good way. But my personal opinion on Halo 5's moveset is that it's overcomplicated. And I know you've said as well that the multiplayer for Halo 5 should stick to what they know works, but I think they need to strip some of it back. So drop Spartan Charge, keep Thrust, drop
keep
Ground Pound.
I disagree. I'm okay
Clamber.
with dropping Ground Pound.
I disagree with keeping Clamber, but I fully expect it to be in. But it is what it is. But yeah, ODST, like you said,
so good.
Bungie,
Nathan Fillion was great.
Yeah, Bungie seem to always succeed when they are being pushed to meet a date.
Yep.
As soon as you take that
said
leash
it
off
for
them,
years. As soon as, when you put Bungie on a leash, they do unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as you give them free reign, they get carried away. They get too excited, and they just screw so much up. You just, you got to keep them on a tight leash if you want something good out of them.
Yep.
Speaking of which, number one should be pretty obvious. I mean, I don't know how much more I can talk about Combat Evolved. Again, really close. Like, ODST is that good that I could have just as easily put it at number one. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken about CE before. It's amazing. Still, I think it still holds up.
Yeah.
How dynamic the encounters are. They're pretty different. Like, not hugely different each time, but they actually do change. Like, the AI is
to this day is still fantastic.
Unmatched. Like, the AI is ridiculous in that game. It's still pretty good looking too. For a game from 2001, it's still pretty damn good looking. The texture work is ridiculous in that game.
I still prefer... I mean, we all remember zooming in on the grass on Blood Gulch and stuff and being like, oh my god. But I still prefer playing Halo CE with the original graphic settings. I don't think the art design, I think, was it Saber Interactive that did the...
Saber Interactive.
Yeah, they did the same for Halo 2, didn't they? But whoever did Halo 2's redesign understood Halo.
Saber.
But
it was Saber.
It was Saber
for both.
But whoever was in charge of Saber's art design for the Halo 1 remake or the reskin did not understand Halo's design, because the difference between the two is stark. Halo 2 looks like how I would imagine a modern Halo 2 if it released last year looks. Halo Anniversary, the art style for it, it's just all kinds of wrong. Like, there is just so many things that and even though it looks prettier, it's just not quite right. So I always play CE on the old school graphics settings, because it just feels right. But yeah, CE, and I think the reason it's probably at your number one is also a level of nostalgia, because that game,
a little bit of it,
was the game, right? It was the wow, what a game it was, And yeah, even with the level design being repeated, the fact that it made sense from a design perspective, it was the same level but in reverse, but you were going from point B back to point A. So
that's the thing. Like they did, whether it was the story came first and that's what governed the level design, or whether the story was adjusted to fit the level design, if that makes sense. Yeah. In the end, they justified it through the story. Like they didn't just repeat levels because they couldn't be bothered. Like there was story context to why you were backtracking or why you were going through those levels. Like it wasn't, I don't know, that didn't bother me. The only part that bothered me was the library. But aside from the library, all the other stuff didn't bother me the way it seemed to bother other people. I still think CE is amazing. And I am given great hope by the fact that, for years I've been saying, like, I reckon I can find posts from like 2015, 2016 where I've been saying that Halo 6, because at the time we had no idea it was called Infinite, needs to be effectively the Star Wars Episode 7 of Halo. So,
a reboot.
The common theme with Star Wars Episode 7, it was obviously a sequel, but let's be honest, it was almost a frame-for-frame recreation of Star Wars Episode 4. Just with new characters, new settings, whatever. That's what Infinite needs to be. It needs to just be a reimagining of CE. And the legendary ending of Halo 5 gives me great hope that that is what we're going to get.
Exactly, because it was effectively a universe reset back to how it was.
Yep. Oh, hey, look, guys, we found a Halo ring. Let's go check it out.
And except now, instead of the Covenant, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Covenant has reformed under Cortana. So the AI are the new prophets, effectively. But I just I don't think there's a bigger game that I'm more looking forward to playing. It's always going to be Halo for me, and that's pretty much why I will game on Xbox. But it's going to be such a neat experience this time, despite a new console. I can also play 32x9 on my PC. I can play with anyone on my friends list. It doesn't matter where they're gaming. And obviously terrified about my Forge addiction all over again. Although the one downside to that, and this ties back into the whole holding the gen back, is Halo 5's Forge at the moment. It gives you 1,600 objects budget that you can use, but predominantly if you go above 1,400, performance just tanks. So if you ever want to get a map in matchmaking or whatever the case may be, it has to perform flawlessly. 343 aren't going to stick in matchmaking a juddery mess. So your creativity is hamstrung a little bit by the performance of the box, and then the performance of the box differs between an OG Xbox One and an Xbox One X. So I might design something and think it works flawlessly, but it will do on my X, but it won't do on little Jimmy's Xbox One from 2013. And if their Infinite's coming out with the same mode and all that sort of thing, I wonder how they're going to tackle that, because there is a huge Forge community out there that loves making levels and pushing boundaries. I can only hope that their engine is as truly scalable as they're obviously planning it to be. We will see. Whether they'll have dedicated servers, for running X
I've got a feeling that much of this 5 years has been building slip space. I've just got a feeling that a good, who knows, maybe even 2 to 3 years has been just building slip space to make sure it can handle
what it
everything.
Needs to handle. But yeah, I don't envy the 343 team, because Halo as a game, and Gears 5 had a similar, a breadth of content, right? And whereas a lot of games now, particularly single player games, can release with just a campaign. Boom, I'm done. Thanks for your 60 quid. Thanks for the Game of the Year award, right? But Halo in particular, more so than Gears, has a little community that loves doing a particular thing and has been doing that particular thing since CE. So first you have Machinima. Right, well, that's got to be supported. We've got to put in animations for Machinima. We've got to put in chroma screens for Forge. Oh, then you've got the race. Okay, we need to put in race elements. And then we've got the level. It just and theatre and screenshots. They've got to build all of that, and they've got to have every element of content out day one at launch. If they do what they did with Halo 5 again, which in my opinion killed it for a lot of my friends, is they launched with the bare bones 3 game modes, no Forge,
no split screen.
It was a shame, because after the Forge update, certainly within 6 months, the game was way cooler than it was at launch. But by that time, people had moved on and didn't want to go back, and it's a shame. But yes, I agree with Halo CE being number 1. I do find it interesting that Halo 2 is not on your list. So let's talk about that. Because I would argue, from a narrative perspective, if we're talking campaigns, of all the campaigns from a story perspective, Halo 2's campaign, purely from a narrative, is the best of the bunch. I agree that the level design, I think, in Halo 2 sucked. I think a lot of it was...
I don't think it's just the level design.
It didn't feel very good to play.
Because remember, I mean, anyone who knows me knows, I don't care about story in games. Halo 2 probably did have the best story. But, God, that... You know, I've been playing it again in Master Chief Collection on Legendary. God, that's painful.
Yeah, that is painful on Legendary.
I was playing through it, and I'm just like, I remember this game being so much better back in 2004. And I wasn't a kid in 2004. I was 24 years old in 2004.
Yeah.
And I remember Halo 2 being so much better, and god damn, that campaign is terrible. Like, those levels just aren't fun to play on. It's just... And again, maybe the fact that I'm playing on Legendary hurts too.
Yeah, Halo 2 on Legendary is horrific. Like, literally horrific.
Stupid. Like, it's stupid. Like, and that's the thing. I've always believed that the hardest difficulty of a game is where any flaws get exposed.
Yeah. Jackal snipers, anyone?
Yeah. You know, that was where, like, you know, Call of Duty, if you play Call of Duty on easy, man, those games are fun, those campaigns.
Yeah.
They are so much fun. But what playing on Veteran does is expose...
Grenade. I'm behind
that's
cover!
World at War. That's World at War.
That was horrific.
Like, yeah, that was terrible. But, like, even, you know, the incredible COD 4, Black Ops, when you play those games on Veteran, it exposes how flawed the infinite spawning enemy quick get to this, you know, first yard line to trigger the next. Like, it really exposes how poorly designed that is.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, you poke your head out, you're dead.
Yeah.
So it becomes this ridiculous grind.
It's a battle of attrition
I still
at
think,
that point.
And the shitty design of, like, having it so that fucking you are the aiming god, apparently, because everyone else on your fucking side can't even shoot the broadside of a barn.
That's right, yeah. And that's part of what makes Halo CE as well such an incredible... Like, on Legendary, Halo CE isn't a cheap bastard. Like, it's well designed enough where you can figure out a way to get through it. You never feel helpless in CE on Legendary.
Yep.
Where in Halo 2, the number of times I hit this point and I'm just like, start, save and quit, piss off. And I will not go back for like a month or more. Like, it's just, I don't know. Again, the story is good, but it's just not enjoyable to play through. Like, and again, I played through it and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. Like, none of it stuck.
Yeah.
Like, nothing... You know, when I play CE, I remember the levels. I remember the moments. When I play 3, I remember the levels. I remember the moments. In Halo 2, I remembered none of it. I think the only part I remembered was that level where you got to cut the big, massive pylon wire things and then it all just drops.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like the only moment from Halo 2 I remember in that entire game. And it is a long game, man. I think it's the longest Halo campaign. Which
is hilarious because it was also cut short. So I remember launch day playing it and getting to the end, finishing this fight, and then I was like, "What?" And it's funny. I got a friend of mine who absolutely loved CE, like absolutely loved it. And then Halo 2 came out, and to this day, he has remained the most bitter person about Halo 2. Like, as soon as it's mentioned, he spits on the floor. He really...
Yeah.
Like, and I remember at the launch, remember Halo2sucks.com and all this sort of thing. But then if you look at it from a multiplayer perspective, there is an enormous amount of people that are absolutely diehard Halo 2 multiplayer fans. Whereas for me, I thought Halo 2 multiplayer was serviceable. But there were so many moments in it. I thought the BR was overpowered. I thought that the movement was broken, a bit crappy.
The levels were great though. The levels in Halo 2 multiplayer are a standout. Like, they are legitimately great.
And this is my point that harkens back to when you have these Spartan abilities and things like sprint and stuff like that and clamber, right? It is the difference between a good player being able to always be shooting and know that if they jump backwards, there's a ledge here, and if they click in and crouch, they can make that jump without even thinking about it, as opposed to levels being designed to be clambered on and everyone can climb up X, Y, and Z. It changes the player's engagement with each other, and I think it does it to the detriment of what Halo, in my opinion, feels like it should play like. And I think that's why Halo 3 for me, not only from a nostalgia perspective, it was the game I played the most in the 360 era, and it was where I discovered my passion for making levels myself. But Halo 2, I just never really gelled with it as much as others did. So from a narrative perspective, I thought the story and the campaign and the acting was fantastic, but just everything else was a bit sucky.
Yeah, the story was good. I'm nothing if not consistent, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that the two Halo games that made the chop were the two that had the character swapping as well. Halo 5 did it, Halo 2 did it. Those two games, I hate the campaigns in both of them. I don't just dislike them, I hate them both. Who the hell thought having that warden fight 87 times was a good idea? Like, who at 343 legitimately thought this is a great idea? And to top it all off, let's have the final battle be that 3 times.
Yeah.
Do
you know what? I did that battle on Legendary.
Thank God for that skipping trick. Thank God for that skipping trick.
I was literally about to say, I did that battle on Legendary. It took me ages.
I remember I was going to say, I spent half an hour trying to do that fight, and I jumped on YouTube, and I'm like, there's got to be a trick to this. There's got to be a way to, beat these guys. And all of a sudden, the first result I see in YouTube is how to skip this fight. And I'm like, watch this video, man. Give me this video.
Unfortunately for me, I had the other end of the scale where it was, I did it and I was like, yes! And then I logged on to, I think, NeoGAF at the time. And one of the links in there was to that video, and I just watched it and I was just like, God damn it. Hour and a half of my life.
When I saw that video, I was like, yes. I just jumped over those 3 bastards and just skipped it all, man. It was so good.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because Infinite, I have no idea what's coming from the campaign, and obviously that's going to be a closely guarded secret right up until launch.
It comes out.
But I mean, they've always stated that all Halo multiplayers since the MCC debacle would have a flighting, and I know that they said that they would look to do that ASAP. I don't think anyone has heard anything yet, and it's, there's a lot of people going, are we going to get one? Is it going to just be like a bog standard, we're not changing anything? Because obviously Halo 5, the beta was so early on in dev that it was only running at 720p, but it allowed people to get a feel and actually feedback and change some of the elements of the game. And I don't think we're going to get that opportunity on this occasion.
It's not looking like it.
It's not looking like it. But then I would also argue that Halo, like you've said, Halo 5's multiplayer was mostly universally well received. And if they're making minor changes and cleanups, i.e., doing things that I would suggest doing, which is removing Spartan Strike and Ground Pound for one, and then keeping the rest, then maybe they know what they're doing, and maybe their focus is on content rather than... Because I think that the problem that 343 has is they have to walk that fine line between listening and also just knowing what the fuck they're doing in terms of what game they want to make. Because at the end of the day, you know, Halo is always going to be, oh, the old Halo was better. I guarantee you, fast forward a year from today, and you'll have threads about how Halo 5 was one of the best multiplayer games of the generation, and how Halo Infinite sucks, and it's a cycle that goes on forever and ever and ever. And at some point,
kind of like the Sonic cycle.
Yeah, at some point you just have to go. The games are what they are. The old games aren't going anywhere now, thankfully. They've been updated to keep up with modern times, and let's just enjoy them for what they are. So we'll see. But no, it was an interesting take on campaigns. I don't necessarily disagree with it. But yeah.
Most people would have Halo 2 in there instead of Halo 4. I get that.
I think so. I don't.
But I have a severe reaction to Halo 2's campaign. Especially now that I'm playing through it on Legendary, it just makes me hate it so much more.
Like an allergic reaction.
Oh man.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good top 5. So I think that brings episode 14 to a resolution.
Close.
We're all done. Quick note is we've seen a lovely uptick in our YouTube subscribers, which is really nice of everyone that's
and Twitter followers
and
too.
Twitter followers. We will do another 12-month Game Pass giveaway competition when we hit 500 subscribers on YouTube. So we're just shy of 200 off. So you know, as soon as we get to that point, we'll do another giveaway to celebrate. All of you lovely people clicking that bell and liking and subscribing and all of that jazz. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with episode 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Ciao for now.
Cool. Catch you later, boys and girls.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah.
See you later, everyone.